Welcome, everyone, to Write Your Plan Radio. I am so excited that you are here for this podcast. This is something that we are going to do for you each week to provide value to your life. So, welcome, one and all. This is really about you. This is about a celebration of entrepreneurs, women in business, and people who believe in their own power, people who want to achieve something greater. They have a spirit and a drive for greatness. And so this is for those of you who aspire for more. And whether that's more money or more knowledge, we want to be the place where you can come where you can learn and grow, and realizing that you don't know everything. None of us knows everything about everything. And so we take these bits and pieces of information from other people who have experiences in arenas where we do not. And as such, I am going to interview people each week from a variety of businesses and industries and professions so that you can learn something more about what they do. So we'll hear from guests that will share something beyond even just the topic that they're going to talk about, but even about themselves and their life journey and where they've come from and how they've gotten into this space, because I believe that people's stories are also very encouraging and inspiring. So today, I'm really honored. I'm very honored to be able to have my dear friend on this show today, Juana Gissendanner, because she is a person that I have known for many years, and I know her heart and her spirit, and I know her level of expertise in this arena around education and helping people to prepare their students for college. So welcome, Juana, to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, it's really great. So the title of the show is Ready, Set, SOAR. SOAR is your company that you started to help people to prepare for college. And before we get too far into the topic that you want to discuss today, I want to make sure that people know where to find you. So why don't you share your website or any information you want to share about how people can connect with you?
Okay, well, my website, I can be found at www.gissent.org.
Very good. Gissent.org. And when you go there, you will see a video and you'll see some information about how you can get connected. So tell us a little bit about your background, Juana, and how you started SOAR.
Okay, well, I started SOAR probably about, maybe almost 30 years ago, when I was going through the process myself of helping and making sure that I was prepared and students behind me were prepared for the very, very competitive application process. And I actually started it because I was working at the University of Michigan. Let me tell you first, what SOAR stands for.
Okay.
It's Successful Organization of Academic/Athletic Resumes. And so what I am trying to do is use my knowledge from being a professor at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for over 20 years as a recruiter, an adjunct lecturer, and a clinical dental hygiene instructor. I've also been an adjunct lecturer and clinical hygiene instructor at Baker College for over 6 years now. And I started SOAR because I had so many parents coming to me asking me to help them with their children and what to do, where to even start in the application process.
Exactly. So the application process that we're talking about is the application process for college admittance. And so when do you recommend that a family get started on that process? Is senior year in high school good enough?
Absolutely not. That is the biggest problem that I have, is finding parents who started early enough. There are scholarships out there and available for children who are in kindergarten, where the funds will be held until they graduate from high school. And so it's never too early to start as soon as your kids are in school. My ideal range, though, I would love to start working with students when they're in 6th to 8th grade, when they start to develop resumes, when they start to join organizations and they start to build their resumes so that they can be competitive by the time they get to their junior year of high school.
That's really interesting. So you're talking about a resume. So a lot of times when we think about a resume, you're thinking of a person that maybe is graduating from college and now they are going out and looking for a job and they're trying to get into the workforce. And so that's when they develop a resume. But you're suggesting that a resume is actually something that you can start as early as middle school, if not sooner.
Absolutely. There are some high schools that require information and require different ways for students to express themselves when they are applying for their high school, depending on what the high school is. So I do believe that you should start building it at least in 6th grade so that by the time you get to 8th grade and getting ready to go into high school, you already have something developed that shows what your areas of interest are, where you stand academically, as well as what your career goals are.
Right. So, and it's interesting because every time I've ever developed a resume, whether it was for myself or helping someone else, one of the tasks that you have to sit down and do is to figure out or try to remember where were you? What was the dates? What was the date range when you did a particular thing? And so, if you're keeping up with that as you go along, it sounds like that would be a lot easier.
Absolutely. Organization is the key. And that's what SOAR brings to the table, is helping the learner to be organized as well as the parents to be prepared. Because if you have everything at your fingertips, well organized, it makes the daunting process of applying for scholarships and grants so much better.
Okay, so we're talking about applying for scholarships and grants. And you said that there are scholarships available to students at a very early age, even as early as kindergarten, which kind of blows my mind. But what are the types of scholarships that are out there that people might not have any idea about?
There are so many scholarships. It could be a full-time job just trying to find the scholarships that your learner can actually apply for because they fit all the qualifications and requirements for it. But you can get scholarships because of you being a male or a female interested in a certain career area. You can get a scholarship because you're interested in education, interested in law, interested, believe it or not, in kayaking. You can get a
Interesting.
scholarship because you're interested in um, riding horses. You can get a scholarship because you're interested in aerospace dynamics. Anything you can think of, almost, there are scholarships out there for those students. You just have to seek and find them. And that is the part that is difficult.
That sounds difficult. How on earth would a person begin to find those types of scholarships? Where would you even suggest that a parent begins that process?
Well, they definitely should start by looking at the organizations that they are a part of. Any organization that they are affiliated with, whether it be church based, community based, it could be that they're ex military or current military. It could be that they have a disability and there's an organization that they're associated with that. It could be something like the Kiwanis Club, or it could be any of the sororities or fraternities that they are affiliated with. It could be their where they work. A lot of places have scholarships for the children of the parents who are employees for their organization. And that's just a few. There are thousands and thousands. So the first thing you need to do is look at your surroundings and look at the things that your children are involved in and see what you can extract just from your immediate community. And then they're searching the World Wide Web, which is going to give you infinite possibilities.
That sounds like that would be thousands and thousands. And so having somebody like you to help obviously would definitely make a big difference, because if you already have a full-time job, how can you take on a full-time job of looking for scholarships? So you mentioned,
Exactly.
right. So you mentioned something really important. You're talking about the organizations that the student is involved in. So that brings up the point of involvement. Where are people? What are the best things that people can do? What are some of the organizations that people can belong to? Because perhaps students are not as involved as they could and should be, not realizing that lack of involvement is actually a detriment to their future.
It absolutely is. You definitely want to begin, like I said, with the organizations that are close to you or your parents. So if you have a parent that's a veteran or was a wounded veteran, if you have a parent that was a police officer or is currently, if you have a parent that belongs to a social organization or club or country club, it could be there are so many. I mean, I could really go on for the entire time that we have to speak about where they all come from. But the way that I start is by finding out what organization specifically that child or that learner could possibly be eligible for scholarships from.
Right. So I think one of the takeaways there is that if you're not currently involved in anything and you're in elementary school and middle school, if you have students in those age ranges, is to get your children involved. They need to have involvement with social activities so that you can sort of start drawing upon that community. Is that right?
That is very correct. If you are going to build a resume that is going to put you in a position of success, then you have to have something to put in it. And schools now are not looking for the student who is, top-notch academic. They want somebody well-rounded who has very efficiently navigated school as far as their grades, but they also want somebody who is involved in other organizations, not just in the school, but as well as outside of the school. They're looking for students who have done community service as well. So, and they're looking for students who are responsible overall. So there's a lot of things that go into it. It's not just the grades.
What other things do you teach your students, your learners, and your families when you're working with them through this process of preparing their academic and athletic resumes?
Well, it all kind of starts with the fact that I have to have them basically take a good look at themselves. And they have to declare what their dreams are, what their career interests are. They have to know and define, and it can be kind of a eye-opening process, especially for the parents, because I ask the parents and the teens the same question about each other, what the parent thinks about the child and what the child feels about themselves, and it's usually totally opposite. So it's really important for them to do this assignment separately, but their dreams, their career interests, they have to define what their strengths and weaknesses are. They have to talk about extracurricular activities that they're involved in, as well as community service, leadership experience, and whether or not they have already done any college test preparation. They also have to talk about their responsibilities, and they have to dig down inside and say the things that they have to work on for themselves. Then they also have to define their goals. And when I say define goals, I get right down to the very core of it. They have to define their 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, and 20-year goals at a young age. Because if you have an idea of where you're going, your path is going to get you there much straighter.
Well, that sounds like something that we could use at every age. But if a
Yes.
student is learning that from middle school, and I can imagine that even for an adult, it can be hard to imagine 5 years from now. And you're asking a sixth grader to imagine 20 years from now. They think somebody 20 years older than them is